Take a wild guess what this next one is. Take a wild guess. Shout out to John Guillory. What's good with it, bro? Ex-Montgomery County teacher released and granted new trial in sexual abuse case. Here's my question. Why? Why? Why, ladies and gentlemen? Why? I ask this question every single time, and we got to reiterate it. We've got to reiterate it. Why do the stories sound so similar on this channel? That's my question.
Sexually abusing several students is now out of prison and getting a new trial.
John Vigna was sentenced to 48 years behind bars, but after serving 6 years, his conviction has been vacated and he is out on bond. Homa Bash is live in Montgomery County with what more we are learning tonight. Homa?
Sharon, Jim, essentially a judge found that in John Vigna's original trial back in 2017, his defense attorney was ineffective. So after serving those 6 years, he is currently...
So now my thing is, do you guys understand what's up with these things where they're releasing people because their defense attorney was ineffective? If your defense attorney is ineffective, that means that you got a bad attorney and you lost. So you get to get out of your sentence as a result of that. How does that work? How does that work? Somebody help me out with that.
Out on bond, awaiting a new trial, but there are conditions in place. John Vigna was a teacher here at Cloverly Elementary School for more than 2 decades until his conviction in 2017. 4 counts of sex abuse of a minor, 5 counts of third-degree sex offense. While Vigna maintained his innocence, that conviction was upheld by an appeals court and even made its way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which declined to hear the case. In 2022, Vigna retained a new attorney and filed for post-conviction relief, claiming ineffective counsel. Essentially, he believed his attorney made mistakes that could have resulted in a different outcome. After months of hearing...
Isn't that what happens when you have a bad attorney and you lose? We're going to look at this too. Isn't that what happened? Isn't that what happens when you lose? So why do you get to get released and get a new trial as a result of that? Does that make any sense?
On July 7th, Circuit Court Judge David Lease agreed and vacated the conviction. And on July 12th, Vigna was released on a $100,000 bond with a list of conditions pending a new trial. According to Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy, those conditions... And
now here's my question. Should they start anytime an attorney, right? Like, check this out. Anytime an attorney is ineffective, should that attorney get some type of update on their license that they've been found ineffective? Because I'm going to tell you something. If I'm a criminal and I know that they're dropping people's trials and releasing people because of ineffective attorneys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the most ineffective attorney that I can, go through my trial, and then get my trial dropped and blame the attorney. So they need to think of some ways to keep account of that, or think of some ways to deal with that, because I mean, to me, like, that seems like a strategy that could definitely be weaponized in order to throw cases in people's favor. Do you guys agree? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Are as follows. Vigna cannot go anywhere minors congregate, go near any victims and their families, and must stay away from Cloverly Elementary. He will have a GPS ankle monitor on to enforce those restrictions and live at home with his wife.
Hold on, man. Teacher, we're running this again. Now, the reason why we're running this again is because what I want to know is I want to know how many times you all have ever seen a case or a trial be thrown out, redone, and the individual released as a result of these kinds of circumstances.
convicted of sexually abusing several students, is now out of prison and getting a new trial.
John Vigna was sentenced to 48 years behind bars, but after serving 6 years, his conviction has been vacated and he is out on bond. Homa Bash is live in Montgomery County with what more we are learning tonight. Homa?
Sharon, Jim, essentially a judge found that in John Vigna's original trial back in 2017, his defense attorney was ineffective. So after serving those 6 years, he is currently out on bond awaiting a new trial.
Now, here's my question. Why was the defense attorney ineffective? Was the defense attorney ineffective because the defense attorney lacked the skill? Because the defense attorney used technique that was not consistent to the bar standard? Or was he ineffective because the guy was guilty and he wasn't able to prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt? Which one? What is the reason that we're saying and that a judge would agree to the fact that this attorney was ineffective? What are the qualifiers for an ineffective attorney? I think that that's something important that people need to ask.
But there are conditions in place.
Shout out to Chili C. What's good with it, bro?
At Cloverly Elementary School for more than 2 decades until his
shout out to
conviction in
Tone.
2017. 4 counts of sex abuse of a minor, 5 counts of third-degree sex offense. While Vigna maintained his innocence, that conviction was upheld by an appeals court and even made its way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which declined to hear the case. In 2022, Vigna retained a new attorney and filed for post-conviction relief, claiming ineffective counsel. Essentially, he believed his attorney made mistakes that could have resulted in a different outcome. After months of hearings on July 7th, Circuit Court Judge David Leese.
I agree. That definitely could be the case. You know what I'm saying? And Katsy says, I would be looking into the judge that set him free. Yeah, I agree. If you guys agree with Katsy and Ed, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagreed, then give me the thumbs down and let me know why.
Agreed and vacated the conviction. And on July 12th, Vigna was released on a $100,000 bond with a list of conditions pending a new trial. According to Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy, those conditions are as follows. Vigna cannot go anywhere minors congregate, go near any victims and their families, and must stay away from Cloverly Elementary. He will have a GPS ankle monitor on to enforce those restrictions and live at home with his wife. A. Scott Bolden is a criminal defense attorney with no connection to this case, speaking as a legal expert with more than 30 years of experience. He told Fox 5 this is all extremely rare.
If the circuit court vacated that proceeding and gave him a new trial, then you start all of those proceedings over again.
So now here's a criminal defense attorney that says that this kind of thing is very rare. So again, just like with the serial killer, the alleged serial killer from Portland, we may as well change the name of this stream to the quote unquote unusual stream, because it seems like within the first 55 minutes, everything that we've talked about here has been quote unquote unusual. Chili C said living at home with his wife is punishment. If you ask some of those red pill guys, they'd say it was, especially if his wife is a modern woman.
Again, and you go back to point one. You start all over.
This was a huge case. And this man was a teacher for...
I mean, like, look at that. Let's think about this, right? This guy here did disgusting things, and he got the married with children Al Bundy, Peg Bundy sentence until his trial date. Facts. Super facts. Shout out to my man, John. How about this value chain use? Exactly. Here goes my question for everybody. In this particular case, can you guys identify the links in the value chain that allowed this easy accommodation?
decades.
Janice Sartucci is with the watchdog group Montgomery County Parents Coalition and tracks sex abuse cases like this one. She said they have years of documentation related to Vigna's inappropriate behavior.
So according to this lady, they got years of documentation of this guy's inappropriate behavior. They've got years. They've got years of documentation on this guy. So how is my guy getting any passes? How is my dude getting any passes? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody watching. We got 28 people watching and we got 23 likes. If everybody could take a moment, smash that like button, hit that bell. Make sure you guys share the stream to your social media. If you share the stream to your social media and you know people that might be interested in this type of content, make sure you guys tag them when you share it. Shout out to DSA1. What's good with it?
And believes there are more victims out there.
A new conviction is going to take these little girls.
Super facts. And if you ask me, this is Crimecast number 75. We've got 75 live streams and a bunch of videos on this channel that prove that definitively. If you guys agree with Torian, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Once it's going to re-victimize them, re-traumatize them, and they would have to be willing to once again show up in a community that is not supporting them.
The Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office sent us a statement saying, in part, the defendant was released over our objection. We are disappointed by the ruling, but respect the judge's decision. They also tell me they did reach out to victims' families. Vigna will be...
I agree 100% with John. John says to me, the value chain is the judge, facts, the court, law enforcement, right? And we can put the judge, court, and law enforcement in a bracket because the judge is the interpreter of the laws and law enforcement enforces those laws. And we all know who those laws are made to service and who those laws are made an example of. The DA, who is part of the law enforcement, and the parents of the children, because it's like they're just cool with it. Facts. Now, here's my question. Would that value chain work if one of us was in this situation? What would it look like? How would this play out if it was one of us in this situation?
Be back in court August 1st to choose a trial date. Jim, Sharon.
So he'll be back in court to choose a trial date. So we're going to go through this. A former elementary school teacher convicted of sexually abusing students has been released from prison and granted a new trial. John Vigna was sentenced to 48 years behind bars in 2017 for sexually abusing multiple female students at Cloverly Elementary School in Montgomery County. He was 50 years old at the time. Vigna was a teacher at Cloverly for more than 2 decades before he was arrested in June of 2016 after 5 female students, both former and current, told authorities that they had been touched inappropriately while sitting in his lap during the school day. My question is, why were students sitting in his creepy lap? Shout out to Mike Mellis John. What's good with it, bro? Why were students sitting in his creepy lap? Does that make any sense? That shouldn't be the normal scenery at a school. Investigators said on several occasions, Vigna was accused of holding an 11-year-old girl on his lap and holding her hips close to his while moving her back and forth. When the girl resisted, Vigna allegedly kept her from getting away. During a later incident in February 2016, Vigna was accused of touching the same student and another 11-year-old female student on the buttocks during class. He also allegedly hugged the same 2 students and made inappropriate contact with them. Police were notified after one of the girls told her parents what had allegedly happened. So now the thing is that there's multiple accounts of this happening with multiple students. There's a pattern here. Okay. Police said it was also found that the victim had been inappropriately touched on the buttocks several times in the classroom, while other students were participating in activities that prevented them from noticing the inappropriate contact. The victims sometimes hugged the teacher goodbye, and he would use that opportunity to make further contact. Now, me personally, I'm not trying to blame the victims, but I don't understand why, if this teacher was doing this and making you feel uncomfortable, why you would repeatedly engage with this teacher. I don't understand that. And I'd also don't understand why they wouldn't go to the school and try to get as many classes as far away from this particular teacher as they could, as well as tell the school authorities. I'm not sure if any of that happened or if it didn't. I'm just asking these questions. You know what I'm saying? Vigna was convicted of 4 counts of sex abuse on a minor and 5 counts of third-degree sex offense the following year. While he maintained his innocence, that conviction was upheld by an appeals court and even made its way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which declined to hear the case. So now here's my question. Why did they decline to hear the case? Shout out to Vega. What's going on, Vega? Now, and shout out to Lehman Lucas, right? Because Lehman Lucas brings up a good point. Lehman Lucas says it's crazy that it's lasted 2 decades. Now, this is the stuff that I need people to leave in the comment section after the video. How much of this stuff involving this particular segment of crime lasts decades? It seems like when it comes to dealing with most of this, these kind of issues tend to, quote unquote, last decades, and then they're miraculously solved. Here's my question. Why is that? In 2022, Vigna retained a new attorney and filed for post-conviction relief, claiming ineffective assistance of counsel. Essentially, he believed his attorney made mistakes that could have resulted in a different outcome. Okay, and there's checks and balances within the court system, and they also should have noticed that during the trial. Would you guys agree? Yeah. And that's a great point, Ed. Why didn't they have a monitor with his room? Facts. Another great question that we'll never get the answer to, but we already know the answer. And on July 12th, Vigna was released on a $100,000 unsecured personal bond with a list of convictions pending a new trial. According to Montgomery County State Attorney John McCarthy's office, these convictions are as follows. Vigna is not under house arrest, but cannot go anywhere minors congregate. He cannot contact state witnesses, including any victims and their families, and he must stay away from Cloverly Elementary. He will have a GPS ankle monitor on to reinforce those restrictions and live at home with his wife. No unsupervised contact with minors. He had to surrender his passport and will be under supervision by the Pretrial Services Unit. A. Scott Bolden is a criminal defense attorney and partner at Reed Smith with no connection to this specific case. He spoke to Fox 5 as a legal expert with more than 30 years of experience. Bolden said this is extremely rare and there is a high standard for finding ineffective assistance of counsel. So now my question is, what went on that was so bad that they said that the counsel was ineffective? That's my question. What went on that was so bad that they said that the counsel was ineffective? If the circuit court vacated that proceeding and gave him a new trial, then you start all of these proceedings all over again. You go back to point 1, Bolden explained. You start all over. Now, here's my question. In this particular case, did they start over or did they not? If you ask me, they didn't start over. And the reason why they didn't start over is because with the conditions of his release, he has conditions placed on his release related to the nature of the crimes that he went to court for. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree, then give me a thumbs up in the comment section. And if you guys disagree, then give me a thumbs down. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 32 people watching. If everybody can smash on that like button and get us over 30 likes, that'd be great. We got 28 likes. Shout out to everybody. Make sure you guys take a moment and hit that like button. Janice Sartucci is with the Watchdog Group in Montgomery County Parents Coalition and for 2 decades has tracked sex abuse cases like this one. She is concerned about what starting over will do to victims and their families. A new conviction is going to take these little girls who were already traumatized once, is going to re-victimize them, re-traumatize them, and they would have to be willing to show up once again in a community that's not supporting them, Sartucci said. Well, there's evidence that there's not a lot of community support when people are the victims of crimes in particular communities all over this channel. That should be addressed. That's a great question, Cameron. Why didn't they elaborate on this so-called poor legal representation? And I also would like to hear what the particular attorney has to say about themselves, if they feel that they were a poor representation or not. And shout out to Dave Brown. What's good with it? Sartucci said they have years of documentation related to Vigna's inappropriate behavior, including a signed letter in 2013 where he stated he would stop touching the students. You can't make this up. You literally cannot make this up. You literally cannot make this up. Look at this. Including a signed letter in 2013 where he stated that he would stop touching the students. She believes that there are more victims out there. I bet you there are. I wouldn't doubt that there's more victims out there. And one of the reasons why there's more victims out there is because they're not doing anything about this dude. Now is the time for MCPS and the Board of Education to stand up for children, to do the right thing, and to put notification out to all of his previous students that now is the time to come forward, Sartucci said. Vigna is scheduled for a status hearing on August 1st to choose trial dates. State Attorney John McCarthy sent Fox 5 the following statement. The conviction was upheld during the appeals process, and the state argued against this latest challenge. The defendant was released over our objection. We are disappointed by the ruling of the court, but respect the judge's decision. The matter has been referred back for retrial. As the case is now pending, we will reserve further comment at this time. So now, how did the state get overpowered? How does that happen? That's my question. Somebody make that make sense. And again, show some evidence of any happening for us.